Welcome back. Professor Femi Adekunle still joined us. He's talking to us about, you are describing your functions to the government. Could you go ahead, please?
Thank you very much. And I joined channels in apologizing for that technical hitch. So I was saying that we cover everything except that we are not operational. We don't engage in execution. We are not like EFCC or SCPC to go and arrest people. But in terms of what government should do to actually attack corruption in all its ramifications, our job is to advise the presidency. Is it about the laws? Is it about the operations of or activities of the EFCC or ICPC? Is it about certain policies concerning judges, concerning senior lawyers, and how they are collaborating with corrupt people? Like we met with the echelon of the Nigeria Bar Association, and our chairman was telling them that whoever is with looters and collaborating with looters, they actually themselves looters. These are kind of things we advise government on.
All right.
How do you deal with corruption? Should we not shame and name? Should we not withdraw national honors and expose those who have been who have been found to be collaborating with corruption? Should we not perhaps go all over Abuja and the major capital cities and identify the ownership of houses and ask people where they have been paying taxes on those properties and where they got the money in the first place to build such houses? How can EFCC or ICPC actually train their staff in such a way that they'll be motivated and that they'll be skilled and they'll be enabled to actually attend to their duties more than hitherto? How do we encourage prosecutorial ability of people in the Ministry of Justice to be able to attend to our problems? How do we actually mobilize judges?
Okay, we get the picture, Prof. Let me bring in this perspective.
In front, more than technicalities.
All right.
So these are some of the functions we perform. But I must emphasize our job is advisory.
Okay.
And it is not actually for public consumption.
Can you hear me, Prof?
What we do advise government. That's why we are called Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption.
Okay, I thought the problem had reversed, and now you can't hear me.
We meet agencies like whether it is CBN, whether it's Customs, whether it's IPC.
I need to check again.
Whether it's EFCC, whether it's the police.
Prof, can you hear me?
Ask for their problems, what they can do to better their services to the population in terms of corruption. On that basis, we will advise government on what to do and how to empower and enable them further to do their work.
All right, okay, I had to check.
Of course, if we find that a particular
it does appear you can't hear me, Prof.
is very derelict or there are signs of corruption, we would advise government accordingly. Some of the activities you see in the Ministry of Education in terms of probing certain institutions is not unconnected with the advice of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption.
Professor Adekunle, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Of course, I'm still suffering the echoing back.
It looks as if I'm the one suffering because I've been trying to get a question in ever since. But okay, let me ask then. In terms of advising the government with respect to the operations of the EFCC, as some have raised recently, in terms of arresting people, you must have heard people say a thing or two about that. Any advice to government, or have you picked up on that lately?
Oh, we want, we will not want a repetition of what used to happen, in which people were arrested and they will end up getting their bail, and the case will go on for years and years, and people thereafter will now go to the National Assembly to be members making laws for us. So our own position is that the investigation should be thorough and detailed, and that once people are arrested, the judicial process should be proceeded with swiftly. And that is why the 2015 Criminal Justice Administration of Criminal Justice Act comes in handy, because it disallows unnecessary adjournment, and that whenever a case of corruption or something like that comes up right away, it should be processed with perhaps with hardly any break in between.
Well, there are those who actually have accused
because we have met with the justices, including the Chief Justice of Nigeria and the Justice of the Supreme Court, and we have laid before them these observations, and they have said they are willing to help the country fight corruption, but also that it's part of the responsibility of the government to ensure the prosecuting ability of the ministries of the responsible agencies, like Ministry of Justice.
Right. I was actually speaking.
That after all, is whatever comes before the court that the judge would deal with, not public sentiment. So, in other words, the responsibility is not only that of the judiciary, but it's also that of the prosecuting authorities.
Okay, I was actually speaking specifically about the process. Now, since the Administration of Criminal Justice Act is in force and it encourages the procedure to go on swiftly, smoothly, such that, as you highlighted, no unnecessary adjournment, so people will expect those cases to be finished in good time. But then, many also say, specifically, if a man is out on bail, on what grounds do they rearrest him for the AFCC? And then if he has to be released, why don't they let him go? So all of those processes, many are raising questions as to, it may doubt, perhaps raise questions about the integrity of the entire fight.
I do not think so. You see, one of the problems we have in this country is that we put the interests of the individual against the interests of the collectivity. You cannot, to me, in my opinion, as a professional, as a criminologist, I am not for unmoderated democracy. I'm not for unmoderated rule of law, in which the rights of the individual will be so hyperbolized and override those of us, the collective. Now, if a man was accused of stealing 1 billion naira, for example, and he goes to court, and with senior advocates of Nigerian lawyers, with all their shenanigans and technicalities, and using the Constitution to say you have committed a bailable offense, even though the repercussions are that of unbailable ones like murder or treason, then you are able to get bail. Then tomorrow, we find that you have stolen another 1 billion naira. That is another offense for which you should be arrested. That is, to me, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not learned, but I'm educated. That once you get a bail for a particular offense, that does not mean you cannot be arrested for another offense.
I'm just wondering, though.
So that is my response to that. As far as I'm concerned, the government has been very gentle and has been very constrained and has been very cautious in doing its job, dealing with this monster of corruption. If you know the damage that is done to us, materially, financially, morally, socio-culturally, image-wise, you will not be going to all these discussions about the human rights of certain few people who are actually ruining us instead of governing us.
Let me quickly get your
if you do not
train
make
of thought.
examples of these kind of characters sooner than later, then our future and the future of our children is thoroughly jeopardized.
Are you saying, Prof, then
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people's rights should not be respected. But I'm saying that in respecting people's rights, you must, in individuals' rights, you must also respect the rights and interests of the collective. So when a man has the resources, has the money, has the lawyers to go and hire all the lawyers in the world and is released on bail, and during that bail time, he uses his resources to sabotage the evidence, to deal with witnesses.
No, but that's an assumption.
To get rid of
is there any
documents.
case that
And
has
then,
happened?
Of course, that is the time they always see. Immediately you arrest a man, that is when he's due for medical trip abroad. This kind of nonsense has to stop. And I believe I think President Buhari and his government have been very gentle in dealing with these characters, as far as I'm concerned.
Professor,
So
I'm just wondering though, permit me to interrupt you, Professor.
We're affecting the image of the government.
Can you hear me, Professor?
I don't buy it at all.
Professor Dekunle, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I'm hearing you. I get emotional when I talk about corruption. I'm sorry.